So it looks like Phaedra is around here playing hopscotch. What do I mean by that? Oh, let's talk about the headlines, okay? Let's talk about the headlines. All right. Now, I couldn't do a video yesterday because I had some personal things to handle. But listen, let's talk about this news article that came out yesterday talking about Phaedra confirms to GQ that there's been some discussions about her returning to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, ma'am, you just got down to the Married to Medicine. We ain't seen you do much down to the Married to Medicine, except for her that maybe you lit things up at the reunion. All right. Now, for me, this hopscotching from show to show to show to show to show, it is beginning to feel a little all over the place to me and a little messy and a little, I want a little access to the money. You know what I'm saying? Because it seems to me like Phaedra might just be going wherever the check makes the most sense. All right. So let's take a look at what she had to say in this situation. All right. Now, she's asked if they were to reboot Real Housewives of Atlanta, who would you want on it? Would you go? She says that's the discussion that's on the table right now. Obviously, what has to happen is something to rejuvenate the cast. We saw that with New York. People are loving that. And we've seen it with Miami going on hiatus and coming back. I think Atlanta has the chance to rebuild the stellar reputation it had when I was a part of it, because it was the Titanic and it sunk. Pull them back up. Never say never. There's been some discussions about me returning. We'll see. So it's definitely given. I'm going where the check cash. I'm going where the biggest check is, but I'm going to need you to give us something. And even Kenya Moore echoed the sentiments when she was
So
asked
some of those other
about
names.
this as well by Bryce Sander. Now, she says that the Phaedra we are currently watching on Traders, who, you know, if you're watching the show, spoiler alert, you will know she is playing a traitor. She says that is the authentic Phaedra. And she agrees that if that was the Phaedra that came back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, then they would have a show. Okay? Because Traitors Phaedra trumps Married to Medicine Phaedra all day long. I would also wager to think that she probably got paid more for Married to Medicine than she did Traders. So I might would be asking for my money back. That's just me though. Okay. Now I like Phaedra. Phaedra is definitely, like I said before, on Traders. Phaedra is the cat's meow baby. But they seem to have diluted her on Married to Medicine. Now, whether that's the fault of her or production or just the fact that they've really got to focus a lot more on the core cast of Married to Medicine, and maybe they were focused more on giving Phaedra a good edit or a good look this season so that she could be potentially asked back and then maybe let loose and let have in a following season. But I don't know. If I were to look up and see Phaedra filming for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I wouldn't be surprised, but I would just definitely also be given a side eye. Not that Married to Medicine needed her per se, but it just looks a little crazy to me, again, to be playing hopscotch all throughout the Bravo streets. Okay. But again, let me let y'all know the rent is always due. And of course, most people would go wherever the check is gonna cash. Okay. Speaking of cashing checks, and no, I'm not talking Trump checks. Radar Online is reporting that your girl Portia Williams has not quite signed on the dotted line just yet. Okay. Now, again, as I report this story, this was a few days ago, right? And, any amount of things could have happened between February 6th, when this story initially reared its head, okay, and then today. But there was so much Married to Medicine and all the other stuff that was kind of coming out that I kind of didn't even want to get into this story, because I feel in my spirit that Portia is really going to return. But I also know that probably Portia is looking at that check number like, is it going to cash like I want it to? So Radar Online reported the other day that basically she hadn't signed on, at least as of that date, right? As of February the 6th. Sources actually said that she had not signed her contract, but that she wasn't the only one. All right. The source told Radar Online that no one had signed the contract for season 16, and no one was officially locked in, which included Kenya Moore, but that they could reveal that some contracts had been given out but hadn't been signed, sealed, or returned. All right. Um, you know, it is what it is at this point. I'm sure that this is all formality and negotiating little things along the way, like who knows what they could be, but just minute terms that that the lawyers have to go back and forth and back and forth and forth and back and forth with, to figure out what's really going to be good for the stars to return. Um, Interestingly enough, I think if Portia returns, I don't know that I see Marlo returning. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. What do you guys think? What do you think? I love the casting game because it's just fun to speculate until we find out who's who. Personally, I wouldn't make any real major announcements unless it was a Portia. And I wouldn't, because I kind of feel like I do like the air of mystique about what's happening, and I think it would be fun to just sort of speculate. Although I know we would find out for certain once they started filming, because the tea would be rolling down the streets of Atlanta faster than a waterfall. All right, so anyway, that is that on that. Checks cashing, and we're not talking Trump checks. But let's talk about another check, okay? And a check that might not be headed Kevin Hunter's way. He's allegedly upset about this documentary that Wendy got going on down to the Lifetime. All right, so according to the U.S. Sun, the Neighborhood Talk reports, a source has reported that Kevin Hunter is allegedly extremely disheartened by the documentary and the fact that it invokes their son, Kevin Hunter Jr. The source reports that Kevin was shocked to see his ex-wife portrayed in such a negative light in the Lifetime trailer. He was also totally blindsided that their son, Kevin Jr., ended up signing onto the project after he initially said he wanted nothing to do with it. Now, Kevin Sr. was apparently against the project from the beginning because he feels like it will tarnish the legacy that Wendy has built, and he believes that Wendy is still being exploited based on the behavior shown in the trailer. And he dislikes that his son signed on to the documentary as well. Allegedly, little Kevin was repeatedly advised that it would be a bad look to be involved in this project, and that it was not in his best interest to have his name attached to it. Now, for me, I don't even understand what Kevin Hunter has to do with it at this point in time. I kind of feel like, you had the time and the opportunity and the space to try to be advising Wendy, but you chose to go in a whole different direction with her money. I mean, allegedly, I don't know. But what I will say is that it's just funny for me to hear him talk about, her well-being when, he pretty much didn't even want to be around towards the end. And could it have been that he wanted a little more of the money, a little more access to the money? You know, I don't know. But what I do know is, Kevin, what you want has no bearing on Wendy Williams at this point in time now. Okay. And so it's unfortunate that you find it unfortunate, but the people probably really don't care at this point. Okay. And so it sounds to me like you might just want to go tend to you and yours and pray for the best for Wendy like the rest of us. All right. So anyway, that's the tea that we got for you guys on this good Saturday morning. Make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell button and be sure to like this video if you like reality TV related content. Okay. Tap that like button before you go. All right. And then let me know your thoughts in the chatterization about whether or not Portia should stay on Married to Medicine or head back over to Real Housewives of Atlanta. Do you think she'll give us anything if she heads back to Atlanta? I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see where the chips may fall. With that being said, and then how will her Married to Medicine castmates feel? That's going to be a very interesting discussion to hear Dr. Heavenly talk about on the podcast. Okay. So anyway, with that being said, we will catch you all in the next video.